Rig hardware.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Rig Hardware. Today we have another fast from the past, a 1994 Lemond V2 Boomerang. I have searched years for this model and months for the parts, and today we get to build it up together. So let's go! Before we go any further, I want to discuss cable management. Cable management makes this bike so much more special to me, but it was also very difficult to do. I wanted to use the Mavic Zap because the Lemond is such a forward-thinking machine that I could not think of a better group set to use here. It comes with this cable for the rear derailleur, and using the Zap meant that I would only have to run one bottom tube shifter, as can be seen here. For the other side, I was supposed to use this gray plastic thing over here to run the cable through. But it did not really work well with the color scheme, as you can see here, and I wanted to hide both the wires and make the bike as aerodynamic as possible, so I decided against it. I instead decided to run the wires through the frame. For the brake cable, this was fairly easy to do, as it just runs in here and then ends up on the other side around here. So it was relatively easy to run this magnet with the wires attached. I'm using dental floss here, through here and out the other side for the brake cable. Since this was the only opening I had for the frame, I wanted to run both the brake cable housing and the shifter cable through there, and unfortunately it's barely wide enough to fit the brake cable housing, so that just wouldn't work. The diameter was just 5 millimeters to work with. So I had to get creative, and after a while I came up with this. I took a V-brake metal cable noodle, straightened it out, cut off the end, and in general cut off everything that I didn't need. I then cut a slit into it so that I could run the cable alongside it, of course being protected by the nylon liner. And now both the brake cable and the housing could swish against it and go into this very small canal over here. So now I have my entry point, but the exit was very difficult. I managed to pull a cable through from here all the way down to the bottom bracket, exiting over here. But unfortunately the BB shell that I would be using did not allow for any cable to run through the bottom bracket shell. I wanted to go through from underneath, but there was only one hole there in which to fit a screw holding the cable guide at the bottom. But I measured everything and the Zap wire mesh was 3 millimeters, so I was able to drill out the screw so that the cable would go through. But the hole at the bottom was not big enough to fit the magnet from the wiring kit through, so I was really stumped. After a bit of thinking, I came up with this solution. I attached the cable that I had already run into the BB shell to one end of the magnetic wiring, then guided the wire with the big magnet down all the way so that it would end up underneath the BB shell. Then I fed some more wire through until I knew there was lots of it underneath. Then I put this small hex gear in here, swiveled it around in there until I felt a tug on the wire, and then pulled out the hex key with the wire wrapped around it. This meant there was still the other cable in the frame, so I attached yet another wire to the wire I had just finished out, then pulled out the metal cable with both of the wires attached. And then I cut both wires off the cable, connected the two wires together, and pulled them through until I finally had a direct connection from the entrance of the brake cable housing all the way underneath the bottom bracket shell, exiting the frame at the bottom, so no visible cables. Now we come to the not so favorite part of my build. I have installed everything that I need to set up this rear derailleur now, but I will have to cut the cable to make the cable management work. This is something I'm really not looking forward to. I have checked beforehand that the whole system works, and you can see here that someone has beat me to the punch and has rewired these, which is also why this one only has one shifter at the moment. But I'm still very cautious about cutting this right now. So let's go ahead and do it. This is the point of no return. Let's see where this leads us. So yeah, as you can judge by my haircut, what you have just seen is actually a bit of movie magic. It did not take that long for me to get the wire to come through here, but it was still much more difficult than I had anticipated it to be. First, the screw was making it very difficult to put the zap wire plus the dental floss knot to it through. So I had to find a different screw, drill through it again, then file it down as well. But hey, the new screw only weighs 0.56 grams as opposed to 2.42 grams for the other one, so that's a plus in my book. Then it was getting stuck somewhere in the frame, and I had to rethink my attachment points for the dental floss on the cable because I did not want to risk the dental floss ripping off the cable and then me having to do the cable management all over again. But hey, we can finally reconnect these wires now. It works. So this is the left shifter, and usually that would attach over here, but unfortunately due to the way that this tube is not really curved, this part really didn't work. I didn't want to cut it off or fashion something out of it, so I instead built something anew. brake hardware.